P2, 4.F. The Space Shuttle Endeavour launched from Kennedy Space Center on September 12, 1992. This was the first time astronauts from the United States and Japan worked together. But it was important for another reason as well. On board was a special woman, Dr. May Carroll Jemison. She was the mission's science specialist. She was also the first African American woman to voyage into space. May was born in Decatur, Alabama on October 17, 1956. She grew up in Chicago, Illinois. As early as kindergarten, May knew that she wanted to be a scientist. Her parents encouraged May's curiosity and supported her many interests. As a child, May was an excellent student. She enjoyed dancing and drawing too, but space was the thing that interested May the most. She read book after book about the universe and its stars and its planets. May would also lie outside, look at the stars, and think about outer space. She was excited by the many space missions that were being launched into space. She wanted to travel in space like the astronauts aboard Apollo 11. That was the first mission to land on the moon. May knew that the only way to get into space would be to become an astronaut. She also knew that it would take hard work for her to reach that goal. Because May was such a good student, she won a special scholarship to attend college in California. She learned about chemical engineering, the study of chemicals and their uses, and African American studies. May enrolled in medical school after she graduated from college. She planned to become a doctor first, then work on getting into NASA's astronaut program. NASA stands for the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. As a medical student, May worked in Cuba, Kenya, and Thailand. Later, she worked in Liberia for 2 years. From these experiences, she learned a lot about the problems facing people on Earth. Meanwhile, important changes were happening at NASA. In 1983, Sally Ride became the first American woman in space. That same year, Guion Bluford became the first African American man in space. But NASA had yet to send an African American woman into orbit. May wanted to be the first African American woman in space. After returning to the United States, she worked as a doctor during the day and took more science classes at night. Then, in the fall of 1985, she applied to the astronaut program. In 1987, NASA accepted May as the first African American woman in its astronaut program. May was going to go to outer space. May trained at the Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas for a year. Then she worked at NASA for another 5 years before her mission was set to go. Finally, on September 12, 1992, May's dream of flying into space came true. For 8 days, the crew of the Endeavour circled the Earth. May ran scientific and medical experiments about bones, weightlessness, and motion sickness. All her years of study had finally paid off. On board the Endeavour, May traveled more than 3 million miles and completed 127 orbits of Earth. More importantly, she showed the world that nothing should stop people from doing what they really want to do.